families, Mrs. Peters here. I wanted to share with you the results of the survey that I sent out mid last week. Thank you to those of you that completed it. I had the most responses that I've had. Maybe all of us are like, wow, we're into January in this, and yes, I have something I want to share. But I did have 14 families respond, so I was really pleased with that. It's really important. I like to think, none of us are experts at this remote learning. As teachers, we may be experts at learning and teaching, but none of us are really experts at doing it in this manner. And so having parent input with how things are going at home, I have found really super valuable. So thank you. All right, so I want to go through and talk about some of the results, and I think it might allow me to kind of address some things. So one of the first question was to rate the difficulty of your child's work. So 1 being too easy and 5 being too difficult. So you can see that the majority of families responded that it's kind of not too easy, not too hard. And that's been really consistent as I've asked for input over the course of the fall and now winter. It's like I pretty much get, in fact, some months it's just been, everybody's been right in the middle. So that is good to hear. It is difficult to find that balance between what is going to work the best for most of the kids. So what I would suggest, and I can reach out to you, those of you that feel like the work is not hard enough, but what I would suggest generally is the first thing to think about is all of the work getting completed and at what level of quality and completion. So I don't really think I have many students that couldn't bump up the quality of their work. I mean, that's not entirely true. I do have students that just, put in amazing effort, but that is something to consider. If the work you're finding is too hard, then it really is on me to find ways to support your student with that. And that's one of my goals for the month of January, is to carve that time out of our schedule. And so I'll get back to that. So how much help is your child needing? And again, I was fairly pleased with this result. We have 57% of families said their child needs occasional help with assignments. So I think that is good. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that students aren't going to need at least occasional help. Some students are needing little to no help. And so that is good too. And I think there's some factors involved in that. Part of it is attention during Zoom meetings, because I rarely will assign students with work that I haven't discussed, at least to some degree. And then part of it just might be, was my delivery not there? I mean, our time is so short. That instructional time is so very limited. And so, I was kind of pleased. I'm glad there was not a high percentage of families that said their child needed extensive help, although there were families that didn't respond. And so again, if there is an assignment that you feel like your child is just not getting, please make sure that you let me know. The quantity of work, again, you can see 12 of the 14 respondents felt like it was not too much, not too little. And then there were a couple of outliers with that too. So that too is really good to know. It's hard as teachers for us to understand kind of how that balance is working at home. So I was pretty pleased with this. And again, if you think it's too much or think it's too little, there are ways that we can adjust that. How much support your child needs just to get work done. And again, I was fairly pleased with this. And I think part of my message in asking the question is I don't expect third graders, and I hope none of us really expect third graders to really be able to manage their asynchronous work completely independently. I do have some third graders. We have some third graders that are doing a pretty good job of that. They're pretty motivated and pretty well organized. But I think it's, habits that they've developed up to this point. You can see that the majority of families are saying, we need to do a daily short check-in. And so hopefully that's like, hey, did you get your work done today? Did you get all of it done? And it doesn't hurt to follow up that question by looking at their classroom. It's super helpful. Um, I do have some families that feel like they have to monitor closely, and 28% of the families said that. So again, that's not too surprising. And I try and keep in mind of what a challenge this is for kids to kind of manage things in Google Classroom. So if you want some help figuring out ways to support that independence, let me know. I'm working hard to try and support their independence and how I organize things, and how I support them to organize things. Does your child need extra small group help? So there was a small number of respondents that said never. There was about half of the respondents said rarely. So in a way, I guess that's a good thing. But there was a significant number that said sometimes. And the way that so far I've done that is by trying to meet with students during break, or occasionally setting some time aside on a Wednesday, or I have some students that I've been meeting with individually. But it is truly on me to get more structure to that. And so be looking for that. Oh, the other way that has been helpful is when we changed to our asynchronous specialist time, I've been borrowing that time. And so I will send some students, I'll actually give them a choice. They can do asynchronous work. They can stay with me and do some math workplace activity, or I keep them and I give them some help. But I do feel like there's a need for more of that. So that's on me, and I will be working for ways to address that. It was very interesting, not super surprising, that the way that we felt about returning to school varies a lot. So there was, I guess, about half of families that are, fairly ready to come back by mid to late January, um, or even right away, and if not, maybe mid to late February. And then there were some that are like, no, I mean, we're just not comfortable coming back this year. So I expected that variation, and I just want to remind you that the school district and none of the districts in this area are going to say you have to come back to school. That is going to be just like it has been for kindergarten students. That is going to be a family's choice. But you do need to keep in mind that should the district decide to begin bringing students in, and I actually think today, January 4th, there is a board meeting going on, maybe as I speak, that they're perhaps addressing that. We might be hearing something this week. But I do expect there will be one teacher at each grade level and in third grade that will keep students who are remote. But I don't expect that's going to be me. I do expect that's going to be a different member of our team. So should you choose to stay remote, then likely your child's going to have to change teachers. So it's not the worst thing. And I think you just have to kind of balance what you think is best for your family. So that was really interesting. Again, thank you. A couple of other things I just want to mention is we do have our second of 3 opportunities for students to complete iReady testing. And this is a fairly, what would I say, thorough test of their progress. And definitely it's made kind of complicated by the fact that we're in remote learning, but we're going to make some changes. I know I'm going to make some changes in my classroom by giving students more synchronous time or time together to work on that, and then asking them to finish what they need to outside of that time. So for reading, this Thursday and Friday during our ELA block, so 11 to 11:30 for the morning group, 3 to 3:30 for the afternoon group, and during that Thursday asynchronous time that we don't see a specialist. And for mornings, that's 10:15 to 10:45 or 2:15 to 2:45. So I am going to be having students use those blocks of time to start their reading iReady. And that way I can answer questions, but I would ask you, and I will point out some of the important things about their environment, kind of trying to keep it quiet during that time so that they can do their best. I'll probably ask students at the end of the day that if they might want to stay on maybe just an extra 15 minutes, depending on their fatigue level. Um, but If we're giving students, it will end up being about an hour and a half. We really don't want to see kids laboring over these assessments a whole lot longer than that. So I'm hopeful that we can address it during synchronous time. So reading is first, and then next week on Monday and Tuesday, again during our core math block, which for mornings is 9:30 to 10, afternoons 1:30 to 2. And that Monday we have that asynchronous specialist time, which gives us another half an hour that we can work on math. And again, I might ask students to maybe stretch out that last block of time a little bit, or find some other time that they can finish that. But gosh, I would hope that maybe an hour and a half you would think for a third grader would be enough. I do know some kids who are really conscientious um, will spend more time than that, but that's the plan for iReady. Couple of tips during those days, make sure that you, and I'll tell my students this, these are really student and family tips, to have a tidy work area. Try and get rid of distractions. Let others in your house know that you're testing. When you take a break, log out of iReady. So I am going to hope that students can kind of work those periods I'm giving them, and then our breaks will come during break time. If you get stuck, and this is an important one, make your best guess and move on. We've told students that the difficulty of these tests, these questions, tends to um, seems to kind of be a moving target, and it is adaptive. So if they start to struggle with questions and get wrong answers, the test then will adapt to them. So laboring for a really long time over something they don't really know anything about um, is really not to their benefit. We'll use paper and pencil for math sections, and I have tests for 20 to 30 minutes at a time. I also want to show you, and I'm going to include this in here, some a testing document or some information about testing. So there are some videos linked here that you can take a look at about iReady. Um, this has some information about how students log in through Clever into iReady. And we're gotten so much more tech savvy. I don't think that they will have a problem. Again, here are the tips that I'll give students, and then the schedule. So Thursday and Friday, iReady testing for reading, we'll have about an hour to work and 30 minutes on Friday. And then math, we'll have about an hour on Monday and 30 minutes on Tuesday. And then as needed, we're going to ask students or need students to go in and finish. The deadline is January 24th for having it. So if I just want to get it done, kind of get it done early, and then move on to instruction. And anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing some progress with that. So a couple of other things. So focus for January. So, oh gosh, it's been hard to balance reading and writing, and we ended up kind of November and December with a pretty heavy focus on writing during that little bit of ELA block we have, because it's so hard to jump back and forth. So once we wrap up iReady in particular, the rest of our January focus will be again on building habits and skills for reading informational text. That was the focus at times over the course of fall, that it felt a little bit scattered. I would like to continue to use Newsela. We will also use our science text. I like Newsela because there are a variety of things I can ask students to do with it, but the content will be related to science and social studies topics that we would hope to be covering more. Our focus in math currently with Unit 3 is extending addition and subtraction to 3-digit numbers, and in subtraction in particular, using the number line model. We never walk away from the other important content of fractions and multiplication fact fluency. That's part of our number corner work or workplaces. So I have a couple of videos I have in mind that I want to be making about fractions instruction and fact fluency. So be watching for those. Maybe this week, not early next week. And then another thing that's changing, I mean, we're sad as a team that we aren't able to spend more time on both science and social studies, but science in particular. So Mrs. Poe is our science representative, and she is going to be working to put more science activities or prepare them for Wednesday. So really trying to make Wednesdays a science focused day. So that's fun to think about. Again, just thank you. We really have to be partners in this process. And I don't really know any other way to support kids to be successful unless we're working together in ways that we really haven't had to do before. And so I just so appreciate everything that you've done to support learning, and make sure that you reach out to me. You can use a Remind app or email me with questions or concerns. But anyway, thank you for listening, and Happy New Year. And let's look forward to a better year this year. So be well. Bye bye.